And we are, well, I'd say live. We're not quite live, are we? We're pre-recorded, but we're actually recording now, ready for
Yeah.
part 2 of my really, really busy day, where I've been spending the day on commentary for the Super Series. I've got a video to make in a bit for YouTube. I've got to go to the gym. I need to practice for the World Masters, but I've always got some time for you, Andy.
Fantastic. Welcome, everybody, to episode 6 of our Mission Darts podcast. It's me, Andy Cornwall, here with Matt Edgar again. And today, Matt, you will see I'm right in front of the microphone. I'm still in an empty room. I still haven't moved, but I've been told if I get really close to this microphone, it might stop the echo in. It might sound a bit better. So I've balanced it on a shoebox, almost Edgar-ish, like make do. So we'll see how we go today. Headphones are in, microphone's on a shoebox, and your budget's on a shoestring.
Maybe just a little bit off the mic, just because you don't have like a mouth guard. So look, I'll bring mine up just so you can see quickly. So you get these like mouth guards, and they stop the wind. So when you speak, it's like you speak with a, and you sort of blow into the mic when you speak. These guards.
Is that a technical term?
I don't know.
Is that technical? Yeah, that's what
I
it's
don't know
called.
if guard's the technical term either. I'm trying to give this advice while my camera's constantly coming in and out of focus and zooming in and off. Yeah, so all sorts of bits.
It's not another name for a dead cat or something, because that was my favourite from last week.
You haven't forgot it though, have you?
Oh, mate, I absolutely love that name. That's the best thing ever. And anyway,
did you tell Jan Decker about
it? haven't seen him, funnily enough, but I have been for a haircut, as you can notice. And,
yes.
So that was. Could you just make it a little bit shorter than normal? Oh, right, okay.
When you're going back to get it finished.
Exactly. There's nothing left, mate. I know I've not got a lot of hair at the best of times, but a bit too much taken off this week. But anyway, the sun's shining, so I'm not too cold. It's all good. Everything all right with you?
Busy. Like I say, very, very hot. It's down on the south coast of the UK at the moment, and it is baking. So, but busy. But busy's good. I'm getting ready for my first European tour on commentary. Got that all booked up today, so I can't wait for that. So I reckon I'm going to be at home in the next 4 weeks for about 3 days. But
similar to the last 6 months, really, Matt. I'm not. You expect me to sound surprised by that, but I'm surprised your missus recognises you when you come in. To be honest,
it's probably why we're still together. She don't have to put up with me as much. So.
Could well be, mate. Could well be. We got loads to talk about this week, as we say every week. There just seems to be loads and loads and loads of things going on, and I'll just tease a little bit of this. Did you see that? That was really quick. We'll just tease a little bit of that. But Mission have got 2 huge launches coming up, which we're both going to be involved with. We've been involved with one already this year, and we got another 2 coming up in the next few weeks, months, which is pretty exciting stuff. And maybe might be a Matthew Edgar dart in there. What do you think?
Well, I've been trialing and experimenting and tinkering with different equipment, and I've been really wanting to almost switch shape of barrel. But then I really found form again by just dropping the flight shape back to what I had before and sticking with a more traditional sort of barrel shape. Some amazing designs, like some of the colors and the patterns and just the feel of the product is really good. I'm really, really happy with what's coming out. I think people are going to love to see the new Edgar dart. It's dressed up nice. It looks good. Just the colors, the design, everything that's going on with it, I really, really like. So I think they're going to look very good as well when I go and win Lakeside. I think they're going to look really, really good going in that double for.
Make sure we've got plenty of stock then, I think. But
absolutely, you'll need loads of those. They're going to sell out when I win Lakeside, because that moment when it goes in, and that's the last dart I ever throw in competitive action, when that double sinks in, I think it's going to be really nice.
Yeah, but like you said, interesting that you sort of said you had been tinkering, and I was helping you a little bit with that. But maybe it just was because you don't put the time in like you used to, and so you're kind of looking for something that maybe isn't there. And then the minute you've played a little bit more, You've gone, actually, the original set were the ones.
And it was a flight as well. As you know, a lot of people look at the barrel, and it's not always the barrel that makes the difference. Flights. We've got a great video on the YouTube channel about the difference that flights make. And I was using standard flights, something I've not used for many, many years. I used to use slims. So going down in like flight size changed the whole way the dart flew through the air, and it became more familiar again to me. And the averages went up. I'm starting to get back in the 90s in games where I wasn't getting in the 90s before. I've been in the hundreds, which I thought was a thing of the past for me. So, and you're probably looking at it thinking, one day I aspire to get one.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, thinking about that, maybe going from the slims that you have used in the past to a standard, and then you've ended up with a kite, maybe was a happy medium.
Yeah.
You'll know full well, I advertise standard flights for 95% of people. There's a reason why 90% of pros use standard flights. But for you, whenever I've seen you throw with standard, it just doesn't look the same as when you do throw with a smaller flight. So it's not the right flight for you. You and Phil Taylor, putting you in the same bracket there.
Well, it's first time for everything.
But obviously, your dart will come out with a standard flight because the people that are buying them, it's more suitable. So you'll be using kites yourself, but here's a little sneak peek for those of you watching on YouTube. Obviously, you guys that are listening, sorry, you can't see that, but that's the new Edgar flight, which is
looks incredible, doesn't it?
Yeah, it looks really, really good. So, so like you say, using those in Lakeside, who knows? Who knows? It could be flying off the shelves.
You missed a point there, actually, that I said there when I said
sorry,
that it could be the last competitive dart I ever throw, because I'm going to tell you this now.
No, you told me last week or the week before. You told me that already.
Did I?
Yeah, you said if I win Lakeside, that'll be the last dart I ever throw. And then I don't think I said it on.
I don't think I said it on recording.
Yeah, you did. Yes, you did.
I'm turning like your bladder.
Yeah, you're turning. You are becoming me. You are becoming 53 overnight, Matt, and starting to forget things. You've already said that on record. If you win Lakeside, it will be the last dart you ever throw. What you don't want to happen is that you get to the quarters and you lose a game that you should have won.
Well, at least you know I mean it now. If I'm saying it twice.
Well, at least you know I'm listening.
Yeah.
But that surprised you.
Well,
because some of the stuff
listens,
I just need to switch off sometimes. But no, I was listening to that, as I'm sure with the viewers. So I'm really excited, and sounds like the perfect moment to tell you that you already know, but to tell the viewers that I'll be at Lakeside as well. Along with our videographer guy. So the three of us will be there at Lakeside getting some content. You may well see us out and about. You may well get yourself in a video if you're down there. We're hopefully going to be doing some stuff with the players, obviously some stuff with yourself, Matt, and some daft stuff, because it wouldn't be us if we didn't do some daft stuff. But some really fantastic content that we'll be able to create by being down at Lakeside. And I have to tell you, it's the first time I've ever been.
Same. I've never been in that building before.
Really?
And I never been in there. And there was a chance that I could have qualified last year because I was getting close, and I stopped going to tournaments because it was always this year for me. This was always the one I wanted to be in. And I think I can't wait to get in there. I just wonder how it's going to feel. And hopefully we can try and capture that feeling on camera. It'd be nice if the very first time we both walk in there, we had a camera so we could get the instant reaction, because you hear what people say about the place and that it has a vibe to it. Well, we are darts historians. We are big darts fans. We know darts. We've watched it all our lives. We know everything that's happened in that room. And when you go in there, you always get that if walls could speak sort of moment. And you're going to walk in there and you're going to look around and you're going to get all these photos. I think it's going to take a good 10 minutes just to take stock of walking through the doors, because it's going to have, yes, Lakeside isn't what it was years ago in regards to where it positions itself in the world of darts, but it still is that place we've watched all those iconic moments throughout the years.
Of course it is. And funnily enough, leads me on to we'll get to comments later, but one of the comments this week, if you remember, we posed the question about moments in darts that could have changed history.
Oh, yeah.
And you remember that question? And we sort of said,
great.
Fallon Sherritt, we said Luke Littler, and we asked for comments.
Yeah.
Let me just see if I can grab the one here, because I want to give the guy a shout out. Yeah. So we've got Ricky Hine 357, who says Bristow beats Taylor at the Worlds. Do you remember that? Yeah. Eric was on his way out. Phil was obviously at his peak, or not quite at his peak then, but certainly on his way to his peak. And I remember it going 3-3 and Bristow giving it some, and I thought that is quite key. I quite, would it have knocked Taylor down a peg or two, or would he still have become the force that he was?
I think he would have still been the force he was, but you'd then potentially say Bristow was going to be a 6-time world champion. And at that period of time, I think Bristow holding that title would have been good for darts. And there's certain people, there's certain moments where you go, sometimes you need a result. Here at the Super Series, we did an influencers event. And when it came to it, Angry Ginge, I don't know if you know who Angry Ginge is. Like, I don't know if you're in weird social media. He's a streamer, but he's a very popular streamer, like 1.1 million followers, big time streamer. And when you get to a result, you look at it and go, it's best for the product if this person wins. Like Luke Littler winning the World Series. It was best for the World Series that Luke Littler won. And there's certain results, like it's best for Lakeside if Matt Edgar wins. There's loads of different results where you go, this is best for darts and best for the product. And I think at that period of time, Bristow winning that would have been more mainstream. And that potentially could have had a different balance on darts at the time.
Yeah. Look, we love the underdog, don't we? And Bristow was something outrageous chance to beat Phil in that game, like 10-1 or something, because Eric had gone. That was kind of his swan song, wasn't it? And Phil was absolutely his peak, just dominating, beating everybody. So yeah, that would have just been like, oh my God, that's front page news. It's kind of like my team, Blackpool beating Man City in the FA Cup or something. It's that crazy. That I think, it would have shook the dart world, like you said, and would have been great for the game. Sadly, it didn't. And of course, because of that comment, I went straight back and watched it again on YouTube because he's just so good, isn't it, that you can do that? I mean,
and then continue your Jan Decker playlist.
I tried to find Jan Decker versus Matt Edgar, but that wasn't on there, unfortunately.
Oh, you don't want to see that. That was one of the most painful games. I mean, of all people to bring up, you had to bring up that game. Like,
I just wanted to see him again in his coat, his white blazer, which I just think is the greatest walk on ever. It's almost a rival for Bob Anderson coming on a horse. You remember the World Championship? In fact, talking of which, what's Matt Edgar going to do for his walk on at Lakeside? Has he even thought about that yet?
I'm not one that likes to tinker too much with the walk-on. The walk-on is what it is. You walk out, you have a song for yourself or you have a song for the crowd. That tends to be the case. I'm going to be changing my normal one. So normally I use Buck Rogers Feeder, which I would normally use. I've used it at all my World Championships so far. However, it's been a couple of years now since I played in a World Championship event. So for me, I don't want to go up there and be a tribute act or to redo something. It's been a few years. It's going to be new. It's going to be fresh. It's a different venue. It's a different World Championship. So it's going to be a different song. And
have you picked it? Because one's just come into my head. Have you picked it?
What are you thinking?
The Final Countdown.
Do you know what? I did actually look at that. But a wrestler that's using that at the minute, Daniel Bryan, I don't want to rip off wrestling too much. Although I say that, if you remember my third World Championship, I wore a Hulk Hogan inspired shirt with Edgar Mania written across the back. Well, this, what I'm going to be doing now, this is Edgar Mania 4. And what I'm going to do is every World Championship I play in, if I play in any others, it's going to be Edgar Mania 5, Edgar Mania 6, Edgar Mania 7. And not only that, I have got some awesome designs, which are, without a doubt, the best shirts any dart player's ever worn. I'm not being biased. These will be the best shirts anyone's ever worn. If you're a fan of 90s wrestling, and you know the likes, I'm not going to tell you the exact ones, but if you like the likes of The Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, the Big Boss Man, the Legion of Doom, Hulk Hogan's, Macho Man Randy Savage, if you like this sort of era of wrestling, I've got shirts inspired by this era of wrestling that will be the nicest shirts anyone has ever wore on any stage.
See, you seem to forget my age sometimes because I'm Big Daddy and Giant Haystacks.
Yeah, I've not got any of those sort of inspired shirts, but I've certainly got this era of shirt. I've really, there's some amazing designs, and I've got a different design at the moment for every single round. So it'll be a different shirt every round, and I can't wait.
No, I'm sure.
Oh, do you know what? I've just noticed something. I haven't pressed record.
Yeah, you have. I can see it says recording.
It's
recording on the screen. Matt, you see, like, you try to get me. Like, you forget now I've known you for 9 months. Okay, month 1, you got me literally on a daily basis. Month 2, it was weekly. Now there's that. I'm ready for everything. I'm ready for anything that I think is out of the normal. I just know you're winding me up. So I'm not going for it. I'm absolutely not biting. But you touched.
I didn't realize it said it on your screen. I thought I'll give it a go.
Exactly. So you touched on the World Series and last weekend, which I watched plenty of actually. Some mission players in there, and I have to start with Wessel, who I thought was phenomenal in beating Gilding, and then I'm going to use the word unlucky. It's probably not the right word to lose 6-5 when you've missed. I don't even know how many match starts it was. It was a lot, but that doesn't matter to me. It was kind of his first or second time on TV. He's getting used to the big stage. The fact was he threw proper darts in both of those games, like we know he can. He's only a young lad. And it can only go from strength to strength, really, after watching that, because it was his action, his positivity. I tell you what, them darts hit the board with a bit of force when Wessel throws them as well. But yeah, great tournament for him. Great to see him on TV. Definitely going to see more of him.
Well, I did a video on 5 players to watch at the back end of the year. People that are going to be in major events who could cause some damage and go on a deep run. I had 5 players in there. Wessel was one of them.
Okay.
I'll tell you the other 4, but I'm struggling to remember off the top. Cameron Menzies.
Yeah, well, he's doing well.
Wesley Plaisier. There's 2 others.
Yeah, well, he's not on the PDC, is he? So
he's on the challenge job. I think he'll make the top 64 the way he's going.
Maybe.
Which he'll get his card next year, or he'll get it via the top.
Did you mention, was Connor Scutt one of them?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Connor, top of the challenge tour at the moment, will be in the Worlds, close to the Players' Championship finals as well. So he'll be one to keep an eye on as well. And another one that I just can't remember off the top of my head.
No,
I didn't think I'd need to press that question. So
no, you couldn't even remember, Matt, what you told on the podcast last week. So there's no chance of remembering that, is there?
Yeah, well, I tell you what, though, there's something to remember. If I win Lakeside, I'm telling you now, I'm not playing no more after that. Okay. The worst case, if I get to quarterfinals, semi-finals, something like that, then I'll carry on.
I've seen our diaries for 2025. You're not playing anymore anyway, so that's the end of that. That's that conversation over. But yeah, back to the World Series, and a certain 17-year-old did the business again.
It's getting better.
Incredible.
It's getting better. Now, average-wise, there's not really anywhere else he can go. He's pretty much playing peak Van Gogh and Taylor sort of standard on a regular basis. But what he's learned now and what he's developed is the ability to control a match. That is the thing that's really impressive. The match play, the game management, winning big moments, because you can be running at 100 average, miss a couple of shots, and that's it. You're 3-0 down. Where managing those situations, 74 finishes, 89 finishes, the occasional ton plus, the 140 when you're on 204 rather than a ton, to give you that 64 rather than the 104 shout, just seems to be a dart better at the moment. And that's a dart better than everybody, because even on the Pro Tour this past week, he absolutely annihilated Luke Humphries.
Yeah, incredible. He won the. I mean, we as most of you know by now, we filmed this midweek, but he's already won a Pro Tour this week as well. It's kind of like, is there no end to what he's going to do this year? And the thing is, we're just hitting major tournament time, and he's going to be in all of them. I mean,
well, let me give you a thought-provoking comment here. We were saying about Luke Littler and what he's achieving, but do you honestly think Luke Littler has even finished developing yet?
No, but in a way, what I've been thinking about over the last couple of weeks with regards to him is, and I watched his interview after winning, and he said, I felt like I was always going to win. I was just in that mode, and we've all been in that mode where you think it doesn't really matter what the other guy does. I know I'm playing my A+ game, therefore I win. And that's not being disrespectful to anybody else. That's just how he felt at the time. Sometimes you don't feel great, but you still win. And sometimes you do feel great and you don't win. But I kind of listened to him and I thought, I know what he's saying. I watched that final and he was always in control. It was like he was always in control. But he's got a lot of arrogance about him. Now, again, not a bad thing. Phil had plenty of that. Eric had plenty of that. You've got to have it. But there is going to come a time when he will have a bad run and he'll go out first round 5, 6, 7 times for whatever reason, bad draws, other players up in the game. It's how he deals with it then. So when you say, has he finished developing? No, there's more to come. I agree. And I think the more to come will come when he starts losing, if that makes sense.
So you're basically saying
maturity,
dealing with adversity, learning to lose is the part of the development that you think he's going to...
Look at MVG in the Masters hitting the 9 darter at 17. Looks like he would beat everybody in the world. I watched his throw, the way his darts were going. I was like, this it's incredible. Then disappeared. So what Luke has got to be ready for is when the bad times come, because Phil had them. Okay. Nobody, MVG had them. If he learns to deal with that and gets over that, then the next 10 years of the Luke Littler years.
I'm going to ask you a question. I'm going to ask not just you a question. I'm going to ask everybody who's listening to this a question. And this is also a question that our video guy, Andy, is going to absolutely love, because I'm just about to give him the thumbnail and title of this entire podcast.
Okay.
When it's all said and done, and I don't think it's going to be a massive long career for Luke Littler. I think it's going to be short and big. Is Luke Littler going to go down in history as bigger than Phil Taylor?
No. Is that quick enough answer? No, and I'll tell you why. For a few reasons. Nobody can ever be bigger than Phil. It's a bit like, why is Jack Nicklaus the best golfer of all time? You can argue he's not. Tiger Woods is. Well, hang on a minute. Jack won more tournaments, finished second more times. Nobody's ever going to beat Phil's record of 16 world titles. However many match plays, however many other majors, that can never be beaten. In my opinion, I just can't see how there's any way that could ever be beaten. Phil never got injured in his entire career. To go through that, there weren't as many tournaments then. There were all these Pro Tours and Euro Tours, so Phil was ready for every major.
And even when there was Pro Tours, Phil didn't go to them.
No. So I believe you can have the conversation or argument, discussion, who had the best ability of all time, who has the best action, who has the best throw, all that sort of stuff is up for debate always. But with regards to will he go down as the greatest player in history? No. I think in 50 years we'll still be saying that was Phil Taylor.
Mm-hmm. I would agree that
Luke Littler's the question back at you, yeah.
To break Phil Taylor's world record. And the reason for that is I think he'll transcend the sport. I don't see Luke Littler at 40 years old going to the World Match Play. I see Luke Littler at 30 years old being a captain on Question of Sport or something of a very similar sort of way. I think he'll sort of transcend it. And, when I look at someone in another sport who I see it very similar to, someone like the journey of like Freddie Flintoff in regards to what he's doing and what he's sort of done. And I think Luke's going to be one of those people, as we'll probably see with other players now, with the money that's coming into the sport, that they don't need to be playing at 50, 60 years old. They don't need to be out doing these things because the players that are at the top are millionaires.
Yes.
And I think that's the difference, where before, the players that were at the top, they earned a good wage, but it was still a living wage. It wasn't beyond their living needs. Now, they're banking. I mean, what's he... Just at this week, he's at 95 grand already. That's before sponsorships, endorsements, and everything else that comes with that, and bonuses from winning things. 95 grand before would have probably been what the world champion were getting.
Yes, so the money's not going to be that important. I don't know Adrian Lewis like you know him, but again, I guess when he walked away from the sport, he already had enough money. If he doesn't want to play again, that's okay. As it happens, we know he's making a comeback next year. But twice world champion, multiple major winner, I've had enough, I'll walk away. You're right, I do see the same thing. He's not going to be playing at 55. If we look at the players that are, Peter Wright, Gary Anderson, they weren't there at the PDC at the start. They've not done all the years like Phil did, all the years like Steve Beaton did and Mervyn King's done, and et cetera, et cetera. They came into it late, so they've had 5 or 10 years of being at the top, earning the money, et cetera, et cetera. To actually do that now, I looked at Luke's schedule for the last few months and thought, I want to break now. And now he's going into peak major time. That's how crazy the tour is now. It's literally full on every week. The travelling's huge. He's a young lad, so he'll deal with that. But for me, 30, he could be gone. He could be gone before then. He might have made his money, walked away.
I've said 10 years.
So the thought of him trying to win 16 world championships that comes up once a year, I thought when MVG was at the top, I thought he's going to do 7 or 8. I fancy him for 7 or 8. Those MVG years, he looked unstoppable. Now,
I'm just going to interrupt you quickly and ask a bold question then. Before we go into MVG, do you even think Luke Littler plays 16 world championships?
Probably not. No, that would be every year till he's 33. Probably not. Yeah, probably not. So, so nobody can ever have that level of domination. We can sit here and we can compare, and I've heard this a million times. MVG's a better player than Phil. I've heard that a million times. He's a better player. He had more consistent averages in the hundreds, blah, 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 blah. Right, okay. He's playing against players that if he doesn't average in the hundreds, he gets beat. No disrespect to Phil's era. Phil wasn't coming up against that on a regular basis. Had he been, if Phil plays at his peak, plays Michael at his peak, for me, Phil wins. Just because he knew how to win. The other thing
is, those averages will also be inflated by the opponent's average because MVG's not winning every leg. So where Phil might end up having to come back to the board and take it out again, because he might get that extra shot. That also brings down his average, where for Van Gerwen, he might have been on a double after 12 and his opponent's gone out, which boosts the numbers. The numbers aren't comparable. The other thing that you've got there is the equipment's not comparable. Taylor was playing in an era where the dartboards were smaller because the wires were thicker, which meant the treble was smaller. We've got a video of this exact thing on our channel where we tried it out. And one thing we noted was not just... There we go.
That was weird.
Yeah, it don't happen there.
Those of you watching, Matt just disappeared then.
Yeah, my whole screen went blank and then it came back on again.
Yeah.
It's strange. It's not just in regards to what we had in the smaller target, but we had other factors, increased bounce outs, which meant we had more zero registering darts and, lots of different elements to it. And Van Gerwen didn't have to deal with that. So...
One more thing while we're on the Phil and the Luke thing, because honestly, I've been asked this in precision fittings, in coaching recently. You will know me by now. I'm not a big advocate of changing points. It's just my own personal thing, and that's my thing. I like to use points that have come in the darts when they've been manufactured. You're the same. Right, okay. I've mentioned it on camera and off camera several times. I don't get why potentially the best player in the world right now, Luke Littler, is using the points as long as he is. I'd like to have him in a room for a couple of hours and try various different lengths and be confident that he wouldn't need to use those extra long points. But that's a different question to what I'm sort of saying. Phil won everything he ever won using a set of darts out of the box. Okay, not specific Phil Taylor darts, not different points, not longer points, not grippy points, nothing that you or I couldn't buy. We could go. He was with Unicorn, as we know, for much of his career. I know he ended up at Target, but he used darts out the box. All right. So if he was that good, and he was that good, using that, where is the need to suddenly start using extra long points because you can fit more in the treble and all this sort of stuff? For me, and I've said it, like I say, it's the most discussed topic with me at the moment. It's upsetting the balance of the dart. It really is. The minute you're taking that out and putting something extra long in, you're messing with the balance. So it's a personal thing, this. I'm not advocating as a mission player, coach, ambassador, anything that, don't change your points. If it's right for you, it's right for you. It's my own personal thing. I know you're on the same there. But yeah, Luke using extra long points is an interesting topic for me.
And coming soon in the mission product launch, we've got new points. We've got the...
Yeah. We've got extra long. We've got extra long. We've got extra short. No.
Do you want points like Luke Littler? We've got grippy points.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be a good lead-in? No, there's plenty of points available. That's for sure. That's one thing we're not short on is different points. But it's just one thing that I've always thought. When people say to me, these darts are great, but should I put long points in? And I just go, did the greatest player of all time change his points? No, that's good enough for me.
It's one of those where you'll always find something to fit your own narrative, whatever way you want to put it. Like with that, I'm the same. I won't change my own points. Some people I can see a reason as to why. Ryan Searle, for example, has such a thick barrel. He needs that to be away from the board to give him the room to hit a 180, or else he's never going to do so. So in some cases you can see it. And then you look at, Phil Taylor won with standard points, but then he did change the trajectory of his dart. So he didn't change his point, but he changed his flights to something that no one did before. So he just changed the other side to change the angle of entry. But then someone will spin that and go, well, actually, then it blocks it, because then when you're going top, you at the top wire, you can't get underneath. So whatever narrative you want to spin, you'll always find someone to back up your argument. It is kind of...
I agree.
So
it's kind of one of those... you could discuss all night, isn't it?
It's one of those personal preferences, isn't it, with it, really? So
yeah.
It's not
John Lowe's
affecting him at the moment, but when that confidence hit comes and it goes, do you change? Because I always played with slims, and then when I didn't play as much, I had to start playing with a standard flight because I couldn't throw a slim no more because I wasn't getting the reps in, which meant I lost the ability to throw slims. So if he can't make as many tournaments, play as much, does he lose the ability to throw with those? Quite likely.
Yeah, interesting. Oh, interesting. I had a question that I was thinking about this week that I thought I'd pose to you.
I don't know where Jan Decker is.
No, it's not Jan Decker this week. One coach to another.
Yeah.
Or one player to another, actually. And I've seen this a lot on TV, but I've not seen it discussed. The commentators mention it sometimes, but not really discussed. So you are on, doesn't really matter. You're not on a finish. So you're on anything sort of 171 or above. You might be on 201, you might be on 340. It doesn't matter. I'm on 161. All right.
Yeah.
My first start goes in the treble 20. Now, what fence are you on? Do you try and set up the 161 or do you go for the 161? And I'll give you me first and then you can. So for me, I always go for it. So regardless of whether you're on 171 or 401, it doesn't matter to me. I will go treble 20, treble 17, bull. And I'll give you my reasons. My reasoning is that that's what I used to practice. Okay, your practice finishes all the time, but you never practice setting up a score. And the amount of times I'm seeing players now looking at their opponent's score, oh, right, I'll just try and set this up. So what they're trying to do is if they're a tops player, they're trying to hit 121 to leave tops. Or if they're a 32 player, 129 to leave tops. And they end up making a right mess of it and leaving something like 77 or 69 or something that's just a mess. And I always find myself shouting at the TV going, just go for the 161. If the worst thing happens and you miss bull and leave 25, guess what? You will have practiced going for 25 with 3 darts a million times. So, and you know you're getting another shot at it. So that's my take. I'm a goer for it. Give me yours.
This is interesting because I'm not. If you're not on a finish, I'm not going for it. And if you're on a big finish, I'm not going for it, just to make a point. I think the bigger question here, because that's just a layup or go for, which is, again, a 50-50 split conversation. I think a bigger debating point here comes to dart number 2. Now, as a layup player, I often get asked, why do you even go on 161, the example, for a treble 17 if you're not going to go for the bull? Why don't you just stay on the treble 20?
Yeah.
And it comes down to the breakdown of the maths. So that 101 shot with 2 darts, if you stay on the 20 at a single, 81, you now need a treble to leave a double. Single could leave you on one of the awkward shots, like 62, could easily become a 3-darter.
Yeah.
And then I prefer just going down to the 17 for the breakdown. Put the 4 on the end. I like double 16, so that could easily get me in that corridor, go back up to the 20s. So it's more just for the breakdown of the maths and how it sort of comes down for dart number 2. But yeah, absolutely, I'm a layup guy. I'd rather come to the board with 3 darts at my favourite double than having to take a bullseye, and then if you miss it...
See, this is really interesting because this now feels like, Matt, there's almost 3 ways here. I hadn't even considered your way there, where you would go treble 20, then you'd go treble 17, but then you'd set up your double with the last dart.
Yeah.
I was thinking along the lines of the players that will just stay at the treble 20 and try and hit 120 and then set up the 41. But you're actually going the first 2 darts of the combination and then setting it up with the last dart. So that's and then I would go for the combination. So there's almost kind of three thoughts there as to what you're going to do. And again, something we could debate all night as to the reasons to and from. Now, I did write down one exception. And that exception, because there are again, there's 50-50 now on the tour. I see lots of players taking out checkouts on the bull when the other guy's on nothing, almost to give it a bit of, get in, almost a bit of, there you go, have it a massive finish there. But the one that gets me is 1-2-6.
Okay.
Now, I don't know if you've got to start on the 19s to finish it in 3. Absolutely. That's the way to go. And usually it would be 2 treble 19s for double 6.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you'd go the same way, because so just to give everybody the reasoning for that is if you hit the treble 19 with the first start, a single 19 leaves you the bull. So you stay there. And if you hit a second treble 19, it leaves you double 6. Now, if you're on 201 or 241, whatever, and I'm on 126, I actually won't go for it. And the reasoning for that, and again, this is just through me being anal and watching a million people do it on TV and mess it up. They'll hit the 2 treble 19s. You know what I'm going to say. And
I've just thought of a different one.
They'll go inside on the double 6, and then they've left themselves double 3. The other guy hits a 140, and then you make a right mess of the double 3, and they win the leg. And so in that situation, I would set up the 126. So there you go.
Yeah.
And so you're smiling away. You've got your little Edgar giggle going on there. So I can't wait for this. Is it AI? Is it Yandecker? What are you going to hit me with now? You're just not going to speak.
I've got a feeling it won't even make the cut, to be honest with you.
Oh, okay. Is it going to have to be bleeped?
I don't think it made the cut. But when you said that, you went, well, I'm quite anal. And then instantly, I renamed you from Harsh Andy to Anal Andy.
Oh, yeah. I'm not sure we can get T-shirts with that printed on, are you?
Anal Andy.
Yeah,
so what happens to my mind? You plant the seed.
Your mind works, yeah.
You were talking about 1-2-6 finishes, and all of a sudden on Anal Andy.
Unbelievable. But yeah, no, one of the words in English language that has several meanings. Interestingly, there's a question for you. Which word in the English language has got the most meanings? Don't ask me how I know this, but it is the word set. How about that? There's your English question for the day.
Wow.
I bet even Edgar could think of about 5 different ways of what the word set means. But anyway, we'll not go on to that. We'll move straight on to
at Lakeside, won't I? So.
Yeah. Put in the comments below how many different definitions of set are there. Now I've got some.
What are the names going to get for Andy?
Yeah. I've already seen somebody coming up with T-shirt ideas for Harsh Andy, but we might get to those comments next week. So yeah, I'd mentioned that Ricky Hines said about Bristow beats Taylor, but here is another one in relation to what would have happened if. All right. So at Rexy's 44 pub has put, could you imagine if Matt didn't hit the 170 against Gary Anderson? What stories would we have then?
I'll just talk about beating Michael Van Gerwen to qualify for the. So I'd always have something, You've always got to have a shining moment. But for me, Gary Anderson is one of the best 5 players of all time, and the story that happened and emerged that week, I don't think I'm ever going to recreate something personally as big as that story for myself. And
have you got a number 2? Have you got a number 2 story, like a backup for when people are bored of that one?
Oh yeah, beating Van Gerwen, that's a good win. And then my first.
Is that when he was injured?
Oh god, yeah, imagine. But I've got so many like real key moments that just mean a lot to me that may not sound as much to other people. Like if I said to you, I beat Andy the Pieman Smith 6-5 in a Pro Tour first round as one of my top 5 moments, you'd be like, surely you've done bigger things than that, and I have. But for me personally, the time and the context and the story that go behind that win are bigger than other wins or moments that I've had. And it's what it personally means to the individual. Someone else will say, oh, that win means nothing. But if they knew the story, understand. And that goes down to a lot of the wins. Some of the wins are in the context of just a journey, and some of them are real standout personal wins and battles. And for me, that Gary Anderson won, it ticks every box. That's why I talk about it so much, because it was a personal win. It was a battle. It was a personal journey that week. And not only that, it was against one of the best 5 players of all time. So everyone's relatable to how big the victory was, regardless of the personal factors that was involved in that win as well. Then it was with a 170 finish. Everyone understands how big a 170 finish is, especially for the match. So it's one that ticks every single box for me personally, but it's also relatable because of who it was against and how it was done.
So now you've mentioned the 170 again. We managed to get it in. I think it should be almost a weekly thing in the podcast that we mention the 170. But in your opinion, and I love putting you on the spot because you always put me on the spot, what's the hardest finish?
3.
What a good answer. Can't say I'd even considered that.
It's 3 or 119. I hate shots like 119. Because a 119, you hit the treble, you've got no bonus. It's still single to ball.
129.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, because then you've got
129. You hit the treble, you then need another treble or 2 doubles. And famously, there's another video on YouTube you can look up. Phil Taylor miscounting.
Okay, here's one for you then. I can't remember if it's 5 or 7, but I'm going to put you on the spot. There are shots in darts you can only take out one way. It's 5 or 7. So we'll pretend it's 5, and then if it's wrong, we'll check it next week.
Well, when you say one way, do you mean because you can always reverse it? So like,
yeah, I don't mean like going 167, treble 19, treble 20 ball, then go treble 20, treble 19 ball.
Right,
one combination.
Is one.
Yeah.
So it must be 170, 167. 161.
I don't know. 161 is not one.
It's not.
You can go treble 18,
right,
treble
so
19.
It's 3. It must be 3.
It's not. It's like 5 or 7. I'm gonna.
No, it can't be. It can't be because anything from 160 down, you can use the ball twice.
No, there's at least 5.
There can't be.
So while you think about that, I'm just going to pull up a chat I've had with Danny Baggish because I think he sent me this before. So I reckon I can get the answers in there, and I'll leave you to think.
Okay, so I'm gonna think. I'm definitely. So obviously 170, there is no other way. Obviously 167, there is no other way. But then once we go to 164, you can go 2 ways because you can go 18s or you can go 2 treble 19s. 161, you can go 57, 54, or you can go 60, 51. 160. You could use the ball twice.
Here we go. It's 6.
Oh, because you're going to say 3 is one of them, aren't you?
So there are 6 finishes. You can only take out one way. Yes, 3 is one.
So 3 is one of them.
So what you got? You got 3, 167, 170.
2.
So that's 4. You got 2 more to find.
I don't get it. I don't get how it can be more than 3. And I don't get how it can be less than 160.
I mean, I'll give you another 10 seconds or so. I'll give you the answer because I bet the viewers are probably like...
Yeah, Andy, how can you possibly not know this?
Or they'll just be getting bored waiting for the answer and they'll be trying to skip to get to it.
Oh, so 156?
Yes.
Oh, where did that just suddenly come from?
And there's one more. There's
and 155?
No.
No?
Treble 15, treble 20, boom.
Oh, it's not 155. It's not 154, 153. 152. No.
No.
Yes.
Treble 17, treble 17, boom.
Wow, treble is it lower than that?
Ball.
Is it lower? It can't be lower than that. 156. So we're missing 1.
Yeah. Do you want the answer?
You're going to have to give it me. Yeah, I do, yeah.
153.
Yeah, of course, yeah. Yeah, of course it is.
So that's a good quiz question for you. 6
That's a really good. Hey, I'll tell you what. Make a note of those now, and catch your mates out with those down at the pub league this week. because they won't get all 5. Not a chance. I only got 4.
Well, hopefully they get all 6.
Oh, was it 6? Or hopefully they just learn how to count better than I did. How did we get onto that anyway? Oh yeah, that was from the 170, wasn't it? It leads into all sorts, that. Anyway, Anthony Harvey 7599 has said, I understand a lot of pro players, old and new, have their own pubs. How about you going visiting them?
Who would have thought? That sounds like a... Hang on, let me just check the itinerary for January. I'm sure there's something like that.
We might already have something up the sleeve there, and we might know somebody that knows somebody, if you know what I mean, that can preempt that. But yeah, no, absolutely something we want to do. Possibly a series, possibly not, possibly part of Rate My Hockey, who knows? But certainly a good idea. You would hope that if we walk through the door of an ex-dart player, his hockey's measured properly. You would hope that. You would hope his beer's good. You would hope his lighting's good and his scoreboard's good and everything else. But certainly something we want to do, isn't it? That'd be great. Yeah. And what about if we could catch them in there and give them a game and see if they can still play?
I can think of loads of content that we could do in there as well. And I think what would be good for it as well is people to know where they are, because there might be people live 20, 30 minutes away, not even realise that these people are, and to go down, and then they might actually be in there working, serving behind the bar, and actually, I'll go buy a pint off of so-and-so. It'd be great. Like, what other sports you get that?
No, you don't, do you? You don't. In other sports, there might be a coach potentially as they've got older, but yeah, no. To be able to do that is would be amazing, wouldn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
The Edgar Arms. I can see it. I can see it now. But the only trouble is it'd be full of protein bars.
It'd be muscly arms.
In the back room, instead of a pool table, it'd be a full-size wrestling ring. And let's imagine what the Edgar Arms looks like. Behind the bar, there's no crisps, there's just protein bars. And on draft, there's protein shakes. And then in the back, there's a wrestling ring and some dumbbells.
Pork scratches.
Anyway, final comment this week. Quite a quick one, this. When are there going to be more practice routines on the channel?
Hopefully very soon. We've got some good filming days coming up, haven't we? Where we're going to be prepping and getting ready for Christmas content as well, where we're going to be giving you lots more darts coaching tips and equipment tips and all sorts of bits like that, because obviously everyone gets the darts out around Christmas time. As soon as the World Championships are on, we all get our boards back up on the walls and we get involved. So that's the best time really to be giving you things that you can do at home, the ways to improve your own game. So if you are looking for those, now's the time to subscribe. They'll all be coming out around that period of time. There'll also be some new practice drills and games, not just from myself and Andy, but from our mission players as well. And from everybody involved in mission.
Sorry. Yeah, I was interrupting you there. But yeah, don't forget, if you are subscribing, you can listen to the podcast on all the podcast channels. You can subscribe to YouTube and you'll get notifications if you turn them on for the podcast and the weekly. We've not even mentioned it. Rate My Hockey every Wednesday night at 7. Super popular series and some really exciting venues coming up in that, I do know. And all the other content. As long as you subscribe, turn the notifications on, you will get to know when all these videos are coming out.
We've got some banging ideas coming over the next 6 months or so. We're just getting them now filmed in the can, get them over to Andy. He's going to be editing them up. There's going to be some real interest. I think we're about to become the #1 destination for engaging, entertaining, regular, original content.
There's a lot of adjectives. I like that sentence, Matt. And you're absolutely right, because looking at our diaries for the next 3 months,
please don't.
We are going to get sick to death of each other. You are going to, I tell you.
It won't take 3 months.
You'll have a haircut shorter than mine by Christmas, I tell you, because you'll just be tearing your hair out from all the time you're going to have to spend with me. But we're going to do some amazing.
I don't think
amazing
you'll
stuff
last
in the
3
next few
months because you struggled to last a week when we was away. Especially when I went to the wrong time. Andy, why have you booked this place? It's like 2.5 hours away. Stop, turn around. You're going to Friday's destinations, not Thursday, you idiot.
Yeah, only you could do that. Heading in completely not even close to the right direction, completely the opposite direction. Unbelievable. And then randomly just happened to turn up at the same service station that I was to fill it with fuel and get another protein shake. It's just random, but yeah, there you go. Anyway, we'll be unless you want me for anything else, I've had enough of you. We'll be back same time next week.
Yeah, that'll do me, and I'm sure
episode 6
is adding up and hearing from us.
I'm sure they have. Thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to subscribe. We'll be back next Sunday with episode 7. See you then.